keep
Yeah.
scooting closer. You're gonna put me in the middle here
Got
in a
it.
second.
Yep. Okay, you're live.
Well, welcome. You know, it is week 77 of the Native Wellness Power Hour, and we got a treat for you. We got a couple of guests here. We're doing a gathering of Native Americans. And you know what? In this state, like this state of California, science and vaccination just won, and they get to keep their governor. So, anyway, we're at a GONA. It's live. It's with Karuk. It's with the Happy Camp. It's with all the way out to the ocean, up Mount Shasta. It's an area where when the gold rush was on, the white people came in and poisoned a lot of the people with arsenic. They tried to genocide them out, but guess what? They failed. They're all here. They're clean and sober, and they're in a gathering of Native Americans because they work with TANF and they work with the families to try to bring goodness to them. So we have a couple of guests, and so I'll first ask brother to introduce himself, and then I'll ask sister to introduce herself. So brother, who are you?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike Duncan. I'm an enrolled member of the Round Valley Indian Tribes here in Northern California. It's up in Mendocino County. My tribal affiliation is Maidu, Wailaki, Wintun. That's on my father's side, and I'm Western Band Shoshone Tomok on my mother's side. I'm happy to be here, Theda. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a good time for next hour.
Okay, little sister, who are
Thanks,
you?
Mike. My name is Cheryl Berchild. I'm an enrolled member of the Choctaw Nation of Oklahoma. I live up here in Kodak Country. We moved here about 7 years ago, and I work for the Tribal TANF program. Thank you.
Awesome. So we wanted to just visit with you. So we, comment. This will be on YouTube later. And first of all, let me just nutshell GONA, the gathering of Native Americans. When it's used in Canada, like at Sixikai, they call it the gathering of Sixikai Nation. When they used it in Australia, they call it the gathering of Aboriginal nations. When they used it in New Zealand, they call it the gathering of Maori. So it's kind of the gathering of Indigenous. The curriculum was written 1990 to 1997. I'm a co-writer. These are GONA Diva and GONA Devo. Because right, Devo. So it's a healing process. And so I thought we would begin by, we'll ask brother first, we always do it from male perspective, female, and LGBTQ and transgender and two spirit, and whatever the term in the language, a berdash. There was in the language, all the languages had a word for a person who wasn't just male or female. So if it's been there in the language, guess what? Thousands of years. So we kind of got a reflection of gender here and ages. These guys, I won't make them tell their age, but he just got a new truck. What do men do when they reach middle age? Hey, they get a new truck. But he deserves that new truck. So maybe we'll let brother start. So Mike, how is GONA help like with fatherhood or with men? Just give us a little bit of that insight.
It's interesting because I think one of the things that we're talking about that a little bit. I think for me, again, is understanding, or what I didn't understand when I was younger and growing up, and not having positive male role models around me, teaching me or showing me, again, what a healthy man looked like. We're faced with a lot of different, adversity, because our perspective sometimes. I'll just give you a little history of myself. I'm a recovering alcoholic, drug addict for probably I've been clean and sober for the last 14 years, working on myself. And also I do a program called Fatherhood is Sacred. And it's a NAFA curriculum, but we integrate it into like in everything that we do. We understand that as a man, you know, like especially now that I've been, you know, doing trainings and other things and reaching out to so many different men, we realize that, you know, again, we've been mistaught a lot of different things, misinformed, like men don't cry, or men don't deal with emotions, men can't love, or men can't forgive, or men have to be a certain type of way, really tough or a certain way. And a lot of times what happens is because of that behavior, that thinking, our children, we do a disservice to our children. And then our children suffer and the cycle continues. And so one of the things that I've been working on just on myself and I believe, and I was taught this by my brother, well, he's my mentor as well, Albert Tittman. He goes, this stuff is so much easier to teach when you live what you teach. And so I've always got to use that metaphor, that thought process, that I have to live what I teach. There's no other way. So if I want my children to be happy and healthy, then I have to live happy and healthy. To the best of my ability, I have to live clean and sober to the best of my ability. I have to, you know, I have to continue to challenge myself to bring new things into my life that I know that are healing, you know, because my kids will be faced with the same things at some point in their life. My daughters, you know, will pick men that how I show that, how I model that behavior. My sons will behave and treat women the way that I treat women. And I understand that today, you know, and I think that's where, you know, recovery and GONA and understanding, you know, how all this, how all this combined, you know, putting things together and saying, you know, and especially in a GONA curriculum, like how did that fall apart? Like meaning like 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, how did men treat their children? What would happen to a man 500 years ago if he beat his wife, or he beat his children, or he abandoned his kids? What would happen to that man in that village, in that community, right? And so we know that obviously there'd be consequences, there'd be shame, there'd be something, maybe there'd be some healing that would have to happen within inside that community. And so all I'm doing, and we're doing is bringing back this old message, is like saying fatherhood is sacred, fatherhood is important. And bring it into, and when we use it into the GONA, like especially if we're just doing a male GONA, or we're separating the male from the female, we're saying again, like right now, how we're in mastery right now, what broke that world apart, so we could understand, like not everything our parents or even our grandparents might have been right. And so it's just a powerful thing. I could go on and on for a whole hour if you let me. I'm in that on and on club too. But I'll pass it over to
Well,
sister
wait,
here.
before you pass it,
Yeah.
what did you do at 6:30 this morning? Just tell us that.
Well, I get up in the morning, and usually it's on Tuesdays, but I slept in yesterday, and so this morning I got up and I did actually on the Native Dads Network page. I share about 30 minutes of just wellness, about healing, about the roles of men, or recovery. I do a lot of different things in the morning. Sometimes just about self-care, you know, but that's what I do every Tuesday morning.
Every Tuesday morning.
Yeah.
So we'll post that on the Native Wellness Institute Facebook page, just so that and I remember when we were just, we worked together for quite a while, but like just when we were visiting this morning, we were just talking about to get us grounded. We were talking about what he had done this morning, and where we're staying behind us is a homeless community. And I just want to say, so I had to share that last night, you guys know I'll go walking, you know, I walk. And so I didn't know till I got up in the trees that there was this homeless community. So I had to do a lot of prayers. But when I walked, you know, what's trippy is I walked up there, and they just looked like all our relatives, because they looked like they just lost their job because of the pandemic, that maybe they were a little bit down and out, and they had their animals, they had their dogs with them. And there were some children in those tents. I'll just say that there was some children in those tents. And so this morning I had to, with that bothering me, and that's what GONA is about, is whatever's bothering you, you need to get in a circle with people and just say it, so you can let it go, or you could pray about it, or you could say, what could I do to change it? And so I was telling Mike, you know, that's why I knew he had this session, you know. And so I just like lit a smudge, and he brought his medicine, his Angelica root, and we have like our bear root, and we have other roots. But I was lighting, since I'm on this land to honor the people in this land, I want to learn their medicine. So I lit some of that for the homeless people. And it just started off the day because like everything just like went good. And then I was telling Mike, I said, maybe we should go over there and you should sing a few songs and we'll give them a few resources. So that might happen with this GONA. And that's part of the men and the women healing. So Cheryl, and we brought Cheryl, and we welcome you to Native Wellness Institute Power Hour. As a mother, and can you just share like with you and your husband or your children, because look at how good she looks. She made all kinds of babies. Let her talk about her babies. I mean, we don't want you out anything, and they're all by the same man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're all by the same man. Woo!
Yeah,
Okay.
strong Blackfoot man. So,
Okay,
Yes,
go ahead,
yes.
Cheryl. Tell us who you are and as a mother.
okay, so as a mom, you know what? Nobody's asked me. I don't think anybody has ever asked me that question in that particular way. I'm a Native woman. First and foremost, I was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I was raised by two Native people, and my mother was, some of you may know her. My maiden name is Parker. She ran the De Anza College Powell for years and years and was the administrator or the chairperson of her department. So I grew up with exposure to a lot of different Native tribes and ways and history. And it wasn't until I was much older that I didn't understand that not everybody was raised with that background. So I came to the Kuruk people almost 7 years ago now in December. It was a great move for us because it was the first time that our children went to a school where the other students looked like them.
Wow.
Being in the Bay Area, being Native, we're already a minority, right? So we were further a minority because there would only be 1 or 2 Native kids in the school system. I experienced that myself growing up. So for my kids being up here in this community in Wairika, it was a nice change for them to go to school and to see people that looked like them. And we moved to town. We call it town, but it's still a very rural community. We moved to town about 4 or 5 years ago now, and the kids are older. As a mother, as a Native mother, I think it's important to raise your kids with certain values, and those are things that we have instilled in them. My husband is Lucky. He's actually from the same reservation, and they're related as Theda. So welcome to my auntie. This is my aunt. I'm going to claim her here here now for everybody. And let me just say too, I don't know that I've ever told Mike before, but I'm going to tell you now because it's important. Whenever I speak about you, I always refer to you as family, as my brother, because I am convinced that without fatherhood and motherhood is sacred, without you and Maria Madrill, and later, the personal story with my husband, that I don't think that I would have a marriage right now. Fatherhood and motherhood really saved us, and it saved our marriage. And then personally, the reason I call you brother is because when we were in the depths and I was ready to throw the towel in, you were the one that reached out to our family in the way that you do. And so for that, I want to say thank you. I'm going to totally great. So, so you are forever family. And that was something what Mike lives, as he was saying, and what he extended to our family modeled that. And that was something that we took home and we took into our own family, and that we saw our family change and grow from that. And when we started living that, I also am a facilitator. My husband is a facilitator for fatherhood, motherhood as well. But when we took that into our home and we started living that, that's when we saw the changes in our life. And as a mom, I'll tell you one of the proudest moments when we knew that it was working, that this program works. We had been having our discussions, and our arguments in front of the kids, but in a good way, right? And having it be what they call constructive and taking our breaks and doing all of these good things that you're supposed to do when you're learning healthy communication skills. But when I saw my kids doing those same things, I knew that it was working. And I will tell you, they were much littler then. And we heard some noise going on. And so we snuck down the hall to see what was going on. And they were fighting over the video games and whose turn it was. And the littlest one at the time was maybe 18 months old. Couldn't even play the video games, right? But he had a say, he had a voice. And they were arguing. And our middle child just said, wait, let's everybody just sit down and talk about this for a minute. And so they all sat down, they put the controllers down, they sat down in their little, triangle and they worked it out and they decided they were each going to have turns, And so, but that was when we knew that our new way of living, that instilling fatherhood, motherhood, those things that we learned, those values, because we didn't necessarily learn all of that growing up. And so sometimes as Native people, if you didn't get it growing up, you got to go out and learn it. And this gentleman right here and this woman right here, these brave, powerful people are the people that you can learn it from. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, Cheryl. And, thank you, Mike. We're just having the dialogue around motherhood and fatherhood. So I was sharing we have a group, it's intimate, it's about 25, and a third of them are allies, and they're trying to be decolonized allies. So they're white people trying to behave better without isms. We just did a powerful exercise about a group. You stand in the middle, and on one side is if you have less privilege, and on one side is if you have more privilege. And we did an intense dialogue on right here where this GONA is happening, because it's the healing. Like if, just one example, if your skin is darker than a paper bag, and we've done that, that dialogue on Power Hour, is in this community, are you less than, are you treated with less privilege or more privilege? And the group, it's just really, really interesting. They go farther to one side, some stay in the middle, but we just had such constructive dialogue and talked about it. And like right now, they're just doing, what broke apart the Karuk world, and what's going to put it back together again while we're doing the Power Hour. And they're saving us a plate. And we'll just say this, and I'm glad that Jolene opened this up. Jolene, it's so powerful here in California, because like this casino and Cheryl, it's because of Cheryl's work and her team, they managed to put everything outside. And we talked first about your family vaccine and what has gone on. And so we're all of the protection. We take the temperatures, we sit in a circle, we wear masks. It can happen. So don't think that you're isolated. Please don't be isolated. This part of this is to just use GONA as a healing. And so that's what's happening. But I'll say something about motherhood, and then we'll ask Mike. We're kind of like, I want to give equal time. I was thinking this morning, about life givers, women that can make babies. And then I was thinking about life givers, like all the grandmas. And the reason I was thinking about it, because my mother is now the one alive on both sides of the family. So she is mothering 64 first cousins and all of their children. And I'm auntying them. So remember that don't be colonized in your thinking and thinking that it's just a solo thing being a father, or it's a solo thing being a mother. That in GONA, we learned that it takes a village. It takes a reserve, it takes a reservation, it takes a First Nation to raise a child. And but we wanted to talk about, so I was just in our conversation, just to share with you. And this is, in our family, when we got into recovery, because my mom ran treatment programs, So the whole family had to get it. So we knew. So I avoided. I said, well, I'm a sick codependent. So I was a sick codependent for a long time. And I was still sneaking and drinking because I was a social drinker. That's why you can't bullshit the bullshitter. I can see the ones that think they're social drinkers. Anyway, I was in that kind of denial. But the reason I hurt so much, my pain was I didn't want to have the drama that I grew up in. I was the oldest child, and I had the most beautiful parent, my father. He's gone now. I still have my mother, but they were teenagers when they were 16 years old when they had me. Then they had five kids before she was 22, but they were indigenous and they had been raised old school. They didn't even graduate from high school. They later, and this is my dad's pain. My dad would, he took the GED 12 times, or you attempted to take it. And he would, because he was told in boarding school that he was dumb and stupid because, he spoke Blackfoot. And my dad was like IQ genius, could rebuild cars, make willow furniture. He was just a genius. But he believed them that somehow he was stupid. So he would always, he'd be clean and sober. It would be the night before the GED test and he'd go get drunk.
Oh.
Because it was too painful. It was his only coping mechanism at the time. So I was just thinking about, so when we say motherhood and fatherhood, and Mike and I, and maybe that's the first question I'll kind of ask you, Mike, like what roles is like uncles and brothers and just men in general, what's their role in helping with the family situation?
Well, I just want to just real quick too. I think one of the things from like myself, like I said, I have some years of recovery, and I remember being young and not really understanding some things, and not really having any guidance in that sense. Today, obviously through, and I was forced into getting clean and sober through the system because my kids were in the system. And so for me to get my children out of the system, I had to go to meetings, right? And I was like, holy smokes, you're gonna send me to meetings? And I did those things. I did whatever at that point, after a couple failed attempts, the third time was the charm for me. I kind of made that decision, and how that happened, I went to jail. So that's how I started my clean time. And I started my programming in behind the walls. And so, coming home and then getting back at home and just understanding, like I wanted to, make sure that they had a father and comply with the court system. And it was challenging because there wasn't any resources for men. There wasn't things that was really supportive to get me to this place. But I was determined. I was determined to the point of where, like, you know what, I don't care where, I'm going to reach my hand out to so many different programs, and whoever helps me, I'm just going to take advantage of those programs. And I found some, and they helped. And so I had to realize that, in through the years, is that, doing this work, working in a lot of different communities, that like we all have an impact on our communities. Somebody, we're a role model. Somebody looks up to us, no matter what age we are, right? And so it's no longer the idea of like, do as I say, not as I do type of mentality. The kids will copy what we do. They will practice and see what we do, and they'll behave the way we do. Now, the problem is, this is the problem it's been a problem for a very long time, is that our young boys, and we're losing them. We're losing through addiction. We're losing them through incarceration. Or just they're lost in identity, and the behavior continues over and over again. And so it's really about having healthy men in our communities and finding things that help us get to that place of understanding what healthy is, a healthy man. And everybody has a different definition of that. It doesn't have to always be through an AA program or NA program, or even this other program that I'm speaking of. It could be something that you feel like that helps you get to this place. But whatever it is, we have to find it as men. You know what I mean? We have a lot of work to do as men. I'll just say that. You know what I mean? you know, in that exercise we just did, we are asking, one of the exercises we just did was saying, who has more privilege, males or everybody else? And of course, everybody went to the side of males in a sense, and saying that, but in that same token, we're the fastest to be thrown away. And, you know, meaning like, as soon as you make a mistake, as soon as you do something within your community or your family, we're not going to mess with you. We push you to the side and figure it out. Be a man, go figure it out. But there's nowhere out here to help man figure that out, or to be a safe place for men. And so that's what Native Dads came around. We wanted to give a safe place for men to come, so that way they have a place to say, you know, I'm not going to judge you. You know, you want to be a better father, I'm going to help you be a better father. You want to be a better husband, I'm going to teach you how to be a better husband. You want sobriety, I'm going to teach you how to be sober. I'm going to teach you how to, you know, walk this earth in a good way. And that's what we try to do in our program, you know, is really help that, because we do need healthy fathers. We need healthy uncles, grandparents, cousins. We need our boys to be around, to have healthy families, and our families to continue to grow.
And remember, we had one brother, and he's pretty cool, in recovery. He was just, and we had a couple that they mentioned for that, with as a man in recovery, people look at them and are wonder when they're going to relapse. You know, like, well, okay, and they look at and they judge you. And so I just think about that. And I'm saying that because one of the things with Native Wellness Institute that we're trying to do the healing simultaneously. So like the Indian men get to heal with the Indian men, the Indian women get to heal with the Indian women. And then we do some cross in between, like some forgiveness, you know, betrayal kinds of stuff, our forgiveness, and now I think that we're inviting all of you is to look at how do we bring the genders, all of the genders together, you know, in creating during the rest of this pandemic as we yo-yo, and then as we come back out, how are we gonna like phoenix out of this? And what are we modeling to our children, you know, with the fatherhood and the motherhood. So Cheryl, and we're kind of you know, we don't do pre-questions. We're having a dialogue with you, and we want you to come and have a dialogue with us. And because this is an open discussion with all of us. So as a mother or as a woman, and because you know, you don't have to say your age unless you want to. I mean, because like I really would be, you know, but like what is your greatest, like, what did you learn so far that you just wish you could tell your younger self? Like if you could say, are you like all your nieces, you know, like our other younger women? Because like I just like now I feel like, you know, I'll be 66 pretty soon, but I just feel like I need to tell young women the truth and not be brutal, but so that they could not stay so long in the mistakes. You know, does that? And so Cheryl, can you as a mother or as a woman, what kinds of things did you get in your recovery, or that GONA, or even doing this GONA, because it's because of her that we're here?
I think the biggest one, actually, I'm glad that's one I can answer.
Okay.
And I'm going to sum it up real short, is that the biggest thing I've learned as a woman this far in my life, and I actually have a birthday next week, so I'm getting older, but I'm trying to do it gracefully. We'll see how that works. But the biggest thing I can say is to know your worth and then add tax, because you have to know.
Wait. Just say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Okay. So as a woman, you have to know your worth and then add tax on top of that, because you need to have somebody that's going to treat you well, and it's going to treat you what you're worth and then some. That's the man that's worth having, right? Not somebody that's going to downgrade you or just try to get you on clearance, right? Because you don't want somebody that is only going to want to pay the clearance price. So, but in addition to that, it's more than just about being a man or being a woman, right? It's about knowing your worth as a mother, knowing your worth as a sister, as all of the different roles that we're required to have as a woman, right? And men too. You need to know your worth and you need to add tax,
Yes.
because that's going to lead you into the next part of wellness. But that is something that I didn't know growing up, that I wasn't taught. It was something that I learned by going to different programs, by getting into recovery, and by understanding that I had value in all of those different roles. So it's not just one role, right? It's all of those roles together. That's what makes me who I am. All of those good things together and my recovery. And then on top of that, I'm going to add tax because that's what I'm worth. So.
Love it. Love it. We could just say, know
your worth. And
know
then on
your
the back
worth
say
and
add
add
tax.
But okay, so that adding tax. So in our we've been going for a half hour. So let's talk a little bit about the wisdom, the indigenous knowledge, the long-term clean and sober, and the benefits of it. Because like, I when I first got sober, and I was like, my parent, they threw me into Betty Ford Center. They got a scholarship. I didn't want to go, but I just want to get him off my back. So put me on the plane. I went to Betty Ford Center, and it was good. They had just kicked out Elizabeth Taylor because she wouldn't do the chores. And then Etta James just came in and was singing out on the balcony. And Tanya Tucker, her name's Denise. I mean, because they're in recovery now. But I was still had such thick denial. I didn't, I had that narcissistic, self-centered, self-absorbed addict. That was me. I was an a-hole. I was a punk. And until I started getting clean and sober. And so this last half, and we'll start with the brothers, like in our recovery, and I'll be celebrating 34 years. And sometimes, I think once you get past once you get past 5 years, I think you got it.
You think?
I think, yeah, 5 years is like it's a good work in the program. And I mean, not dry drunk stuff. Like, we always there's always a few dry drunks that come. Like, I haven't drank in 900 years, but they complain, they're miserable, and you don't want to be like them. Anyway, so in the wisdom part, Mike, we'll start with you, is what can men look forward to staying clean and sober? What can men look forward to?
That's a good question. And I think it's an important question, especially if you're new in recovery. I think, 5 years, you mentioned that, I think, because I worked a strong program at the beginning of my recovery. I mean, I went to 90 meetings, 90 days.
Oh, good for you.
I had, I had 90 meetings, 90 days. And I worked the steps twice. And I, by that time, and I was getting to a place of kind of like, man, it's like I got kind of, I was kind of bored a little bit, just showing to the same meetings, kind of seeing the same people. But in my 5th year, what happened, one of the things of the light, something like a certain thing just started making sense. Like, I started listening more into the details of the words, and they just had it. It felt different when I heard certain things, like the word serenity, you know what I mean? Or integrity. Like, these words started meaning different to me. Love, and I started looking at why, because it's easy to say the things, and I think this is a lot of, I do this thing called, it's like a love exercise. I'm not going to go into that right now, but the idea was.
Come on. Give us a just describe it.
We got a half an hour left. So.
Yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yeah. So I do this love exercise, but basically how it goes is I put this word on the board, love, L-O-V-E. And then I asked the group to just give me one word that describes love. And so as they're describing this word, I don't tell them what it is, what to tell, except I can buzz them. So if they give me a word that says, well, love hurts, I'll buzz them like, well, no, that's your experience with love. I'm asking you to describe the word love, like define it. And so after the group gives me about 100 words or 80 words or whatever those words are, And then I tell them, I said, look at here, like, then you're telling me that love is consistent, is honest, is truthful. And so when you tell somebody you love them, you're telling them all these words, right? Now, in turn, you're doing the same thing. When somebody tells you they love you, they're telling you all these words. And if they're not doing it, see, because no one will put love is hate, love is arguing, love is name calling, love is put downs, love is, absent, like, because we know that's not what love is. But so once we say that, now let's get a little deeper than that. Then we start, like recovery has taught me, it says you can't give what you don't have. You have to possess it to give it. So how do you self-love? The same principles apply to that. I got to be honest with myself. I got to forgive myself. I got to be consistent. I got to be truthful. So all these principles apply to you. So once you learn to self-love you and give yourself self-worth, then you're able to identify love. Now, when you're with your children, you could tell them, well, I know what love means. Now, see, the thing with men is that we don't sit in circles and talk about, let's talk about love. Right. Why? Because that's not man, right? Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about this, which is good. But what I'm saying is that we need more men talking about love and what it means to them. Why? Because our children deserve love. Why? Because our young boys need to know what that looks like, not only by action, by words. They need to match, meaning like you can't say I love you and then put them down right after you, because they think, well, that's what love is. It's put down. It's called tough love. It's called this. Because we start to justify our dysfunctional behavior, and it's not okay, right? It's not okay, because then we wonder why, as our young boys grow up,
and why we stay sick.
Yeah, they teach that too. They treat women a certain way, or they treat their family a certain way, and they think, well, I love you. I've always loved you. Can't you tell? And now that I know what love is, I'm like, no, that's not what love is. So I try to teach men the best of my ability about that, how important to know what love means. Because again, if you don't know what that means, we're just going around pretending. Right. And like we know, and that's not the truth. And so it's a good exercise, man. If you want that exercise, come see me. And I'll teach you that.
And by the way, we have a big conference coming up in 2022. We're uniting all of the network of dads. We're uniting White Bison. We're uniting Native Wellness Institute, and we're looking for other allies, because we're modeling that we can all work together and not be in silos or competitive, because that means you're colonized. So if you're jealous of us, stop being colonized and come over and we'll break some bread and eat together. But Cheryl, before I ask you about that wisdom, I just wanted to make comment, because Native Wellness Institute, we say this over and over, that the grief is as big as the love. And you reminded me, Mike. So remember, when the big loves, when that happens, I mean, the compassion, when it's a big love, to be gentle, to take your time, to go at your own pace. And I just think, losing my dad almost 20 years ago, I was talking to him this morning. Okay, Dad, and this is like, I just say, Dad, the things I ask him for is, help me to speak more of our language, Dad. He's a fluent speaker of the higher language. Let me understand it in all of my cells of every part of my body. And so that's a common prayer. I don't cry around to him anymore and ask for help, because I know he's there guarding me. I know if I call upon him, bam, he's there, just like all my other ancestors. And so I just wanted to say that comment about, that the grief is as big as the love. And so Cheryl, and again, because, we have Cheryl here because, she's not only the diva and many things, like organizing this, but, she raised a lot of children, and one of her children has been a challenge, but the girl works it. I mean, so what is the wisdom as a woman, as a life giver, as a sister? Like what's some of the wisdom? What can our audience look forward to if they just put the plug in the jug? What do they have to look forward to?
Gosh, this is, well, so I'm also a substance abuse counselor, my KDAC too. Something else that was good that came out of sobriety and recovery and TANF. They actually are the ones that sent me to school, which I'm forever grateful for, because that's what put me on the walk that I am on now, the one that I'm living. And one of the things that we talk about when I work with people is what is the good stuff that's waiting. As counselors, when you go to school, they tell you don't ever promise them anything. You can't promise them anything because they might not get it. And that's true. But as somebody that's been in recovery for a while, it's been 11 years now, I know that there's such good things waiting on the other side of that. When you work the steps for the first time, or, you just take that first step, things happen and they start to change in your life, and they start to change quickly. And then you see that change as you start to get healing and you start to get well, that trickles out into your family. And then you start seeing the changes in your children, and you start maybe even seeing the changes in your spouse, and those things. And what I hear so many people say, and in particular, families of people that are new in recovery, is, I just want the old so-and-so back. I just want the old Mike back. Things were so much better when. And what I remind them is that old person is the one that might have been the one that gets into trouble, right? Because they say in the rooms, our best thinking is what got us there. And so I tell them, what you have on the other side of this, what's waiting for you is the better Mike. It's the new and improved Mike, so it's not falling back on those old habits and those old behaviors. It's being the new person in recovery, and having new relationships. And what I can tell you from my own experience, because my husband and I are both in recovery, is that when we started working on our relationship, which came separately, we had to work our recovery separately. Mine is mine and his, and I don't manage his for him, and he doesn't manage me, mine for me. Is that when we started working on the relationship together, our marriage is so much better now, and it's so much stronger, and we're so much better at expressing ourselves and communicating and showing that, so that our kids see it as well. And one of the things I'm going to tack on to what Mike said, doing that love exercise, sometimes I have even, and you've probably done this too, because you've been doing it longer than me, is I'll separate out the men and the women, and really look at what the men give you, what men think love is, and what women think love is. And then when you bring them back together, you sometimes they realize, hey, as a couple, right? Because I have couples sometimes in fatherhood, that they're just coming from two totally different places about what love is and what their expectations are. And so that sometimes opens that conversation, right? Because I see, and I work with so many couples that they don't plan. And you don't have to plan, right? But they don't have an idea of where they're headed in their relationship, or what they want, and if they're on the same page or walking the same road together. And I'll often ask them, how long did you spend planning your wedding? And they'll tell me, oh, we spent a year. We had to book the venue way far out, and we had to have the caterer and this and that. And I said, okay, how long did you spend planning your lives together, your married lives together? And inevitably, it's like, were we supposed to do that? But it's because we don't learn, right? We're not taught that about what the expectations are and how to move forward in that. And so, in sobriety and recovery, you learn some of those skills. Hopefully you do, right? and then you bring them home. And those skills are what help heals you and helps bring that newness and that recovery. And also, I'll just say, keeps things spicy. You got to keep it spicy.
I like to use sexy.
Okay, well,
like I always my compliment. Ooh, that looks really sexy on you. Ooh, your smile is sexy. Ooh, the way you burnt that meatloaf is sexy.
Are you sure?
Come here, give me some love. No,
that's it,
no.
right? That's it.
No.
And so I know for us, I wasn't raised in a family that is very touchy-feely. That's how I express love. And so it was, my husband was not raised in a family that was super touchy-feely either. But when we came together and in recovery and we knew this and we were able to communicate that, we can meet that need, and so it's a very different household now. We were with some friends before the pre-pandemic, and I've known my girlfriend for, I'll give you a clue to how old I am. I've known her for at least 36 years, but longer. And she
In
had,
utero? No.
yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
She looked good. She looked
Yeah.
good.
At least, but no, I'm older than that. So, but she said to me after we had visited, she said, you and your husband, you guys are like newlyweds, the way that you are with each other.
Aw,
And that's recovery.
okay.
It's better than the old person. So.
And that's awesome. And that's what's happening in Wairika, California right now at our GONA is right now we're going to go join our village, and we're continuing, we're peeling off the onion and we're getting to the deeper issues. So in our remaining time, Mike, because we want to have some equality here. Well, we have two strong women. That's pretty good. Like, and this strong man, you're pretty good. We can't even push his buttons.
Not at all. I've been trying to get him all morning long. It hasn't worked.
But Mike, like part of it's just about healing. It's about wellness. It's here it is. It is Recovery Month, and 2021. What kind of closing comments would you like to say? And you got 5 minutes because I know you can do it.
Yeah, 5 minutes. I think one of the things, or just to close out, I guess my final 5 minutes is that, it takes a real desire to want to change. I mean, this path of recovery or fatherhood or, whatever you're trying to incorporate in your life, it takes work. And a lot of times, because it gets hard or things don't go exactly the way we drew it out on the board, or we take the easy way out and we just quit, saying maybe I'm just different, it doesn't work for me. I remind myself, and this is what I remind everybody watching, is that you are so important to this big picture. That like GONAs and Native Wellness Institute and all the organizations that were coming together to NAFA and White Bison, all these organizations, Native Dads Network, we're trying to bring our communities together to heal, because we want our people to continue healthy, and for myself, it's just like, that's what, as a man, and I'll share my age. I just turned 50 this year. And one of the things, and I'm really truly embracing it, even though I get teased a lot by my friends, but a lot of people didn't make it this far. And so I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to enjoy all of it. The gray hair, the jokes, the kind of even the soreness sometimes of getting up out of bed, and it's like, oh man, that's what it feels like. This is what they were talking about when I was 20 years old, right? But I'm gonna embrace it all, and do my best to continue on trying to give something good to our people, and that wasn't my direction when I was young. And I want to share this real fast, is that, when I was young, I had a whole different perspective of life. It had nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now. I was self-centered. I was, I had a different way of thinking, but was totally unhealthy. And I changed. And I share that with a lot of people because I started realizing that my actions and my behavior was affecting my children. And I didn't want my children to have that. And I wanted to break cycles. And to get to this place of like healing today, or this place of wellness today, or this place of fatherhood today, it took me to suit up, show up, and sometimes not say anything at all, and learn and be teachable, and how to be a good man, a good person. And it's not a competition. It's not me saying I'm a better man than this other individual, or I'm better than you, or anything like that. I just want to make sure that I'm around to see my grandkids. I'm around to, you know what I mean, to guide my children throughout their life. As long as I'm here on earth, I'm going to guide them. I always told them, even at 18 years old, I go, 18, 19, that's not mean you're adult. I'm always going to put you in your place. I'm always going to scold you. I'm always going to correct you. I'm always going to guide you because I love you. That's the role of a father. I'm always going to allow you to make your own experiences. I'm allowing you to make your own mistakes, but I'll be the first one then cheering you on. I'll be the first one to pick you up. Don't go out to all these other people. And I want to be the one that you can come to me and I'm going to be able to give you good advice. You know what I mean? I want to guide you in that way. And that's the role as my father, as a father, you know what I mean? And that's all I want to be. And as my cousin Dean Hoagland always says, I want to be a welder, a well elder.
Well, I love it, Dean Hoagland.
He always says, he was be a welder. And so that's right now at 50, I consider myself an older. And so as an older, I am going to, and I'm learning how to be a well elder. And that's my goal. I want to see that. I want to be that, you know what I mean? And so that takes work. So that means, like I have to show up, suit up and do the things so I can be hopefully one day gifted that title. You know what I mean? Not expectation. It's just something that I want to be. Somebody say that's a good man. That's a good elder. I would go to him and talk to him. And we all know those elders. They're in our communities. We probably all know an elder that we go, I love sitting with that person, how they make you feel, when they talk to them, they're giving you messages without you even knowing they're giving you messages. And that's just something that I feel like as a father and at least what's inside my family and my circle, I want to be that one that they could trust and depend on and be that consistent human being for them. So that's a beautiful thing.
So you got 50 more years to go because in our, in some of our tribal beliefs, we get about 100 years. Unless we do things that kind of lessen it. So Cheryl, like what kind of, this is she did good first time power hour. This is a girl.
They pulled me in.
Yeah, we pulled her and said, "Oh yeah, come on,
They said, drive us down so we can do this thing." I said, okay.
But Cheryl, as a woman, as a life giver, or just as Cheryl, what kind of closing comments you want to give to, because we got all diverse audience out there, BIPOC, we got First Nations, we got all kinds of tribes. What kind of closing comments you want to give them?
I wasn't sure we had a topic, did we?
GONA.
Yeah, GONA. I think I'm going to piggyback on what Mike said, and that recovery is hard work. Changing is hard work. It comes slow. We have our plans, and what is that saying? You make plans and God laughs, right? Because I mean, and that, because we sometimes have an idea, and especially as somebody that suffers from the disease of addiction, we want what we want when we want it, and we want it right now. And when they tell you to go into recovery and do this and 90 meetings in 90 days and, work these steps, it just seems like it's never going to happen. And it seems like it's impossible. But it takes work. Those things that you want, you have to put the effort into it, and they will come. You stay the course and you keep going, and it will come to you, and you will see those changes and those things happening. And if you don't have it in your community, go out and start it. If there's not a meeting there, you be the person that brings the meeting to that place. If there's not a GONA, call Theda up and tell her, hey, you need to come down here and help us with a GONA. Be that person that starts that change and starts that fire, and it just has to start with one person, because it is a fire. It is a fire. You start it there, and it's going to spread to your immediate family. And once your family is on fire, your community is going to see it and say, hey, they got something that maybe I want. I'm going to go over there and spend some time with them. Like Mike said, people that want to be around you because of the feeling that they get or the recovery that you have, and when you have that, that's when you can start giving that away. That's when you can give it to your community and you can help people grow. I'm in this because that's what I love. That's what I love. I love to see our people grow and change and thrive, not just survive, but thrive, and we are resistant. And so that's something that I'm going to take from the GONA, is that all of these other things that have happened, the history, the things that have gone on in all of our different communities, the trauma and the generational trauma that's been passed down, we're still here. We are still here, even with all of that and everything that's happened. We are a resilient people. So you can take that strength from your ancestors, and make it your own and make those changes. So.
So, and I'm just gonna touch both of these because I love you and I appreciate you, and I would go into any kind of situation with you because 6 eyes, 6 ears, 6 perspectives, 6 spirits, 6 the prayers is what's going to heal us. And I think that's what's happening with this GONA. And I and my brother Mike, I have to, and my sister Cheryl, I know the places they've been in, but I'll just share one story because you guys know I was talking stories. I was one of those, I had like DUIs in California, DUIs in Nevada. This is about the resiliency. Okay, so and I was been sober a while, and so I had to clean, they call it cleaning up the wreckage of your past. So I was in the cleanup time, and so I got a lawyer, and I lived in South Dakota. So anyway, the only way they could do it is I had to fly and go to the federal prison in Reno, Nevada. And you had to do, it was small time, but they put me with people that were doing big time. And so I had to do the restitution. I had to do the cleanup. And one of the best times that I spent was in prison. And in that, they were going up for big time, and you don't change the rules in there. At that time, they didn't have sweats and stuff like they do now, or you don't change the rules. So I sat with the Indians. And I was with the Indians, but I noticed the sisters that I was sitting with, they didn't have their children anymore. They didn't have their teeth. And they were still blaming the man. And I came in recovery. So, like I'm Blackfeet. I like watch everything. I watch you. I profile you before I talk. So anyway, I got out a day early, and my and thank you, Mary Trimble. You drove me up. She was my family. I was with her brother at the time, and I just said, leave me. I don't need anything. They're going to put clothes on me, and they look in all your orifices. I don't need anything. They do look at all the orifices, just in case those of you who haven't been locked up. And so
it's real.
It's real. So I just said, just drop me off. And we didn't have cell phones. This way outside of town. They let me out a day early. And of course they said, we're gonna let you out a day early. I'm okay. So anyway, then I just holding on to my brother and my sister, because this is the you see the world differently. So when I got out, I didn't have nothing. So I had to walk to town, to make a collect call to get a ride. But it was like 5 miles. And that's why I'm like, I hold these two, because it was like I was on the Wizard of Oz, like when we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. I was so happy. I was skipping. I was doing a little dance. I mean, I was just like, because I was free. I was free. And that was like one of the last things. And so I have to remind, so like even this pandemic, I was still free. I pushed it to the limits. I go hike the mountains, go swim in the whatever. I would drive the perimeter. I would do all of these safe things. And I think about, so it's like freedom inside. So would like to end our dialogue with you to say GONA brings you freedom inside. No matter what's going on, you are free. You can, at that point in time, determine and choose the rest of your life where you always feel free. you always feel vibrant. You always know who you are. You always know your cultural identity. And bottom line, it's just healing, and Native Wellness Institute, you guys know who we are. We just, our goal is, to keep the teachings of our ancestors alive. And Mike does that, and Cheryl does it, and her husband. And I just want to ask for prayers for my daughter. She's in the women's prison in Billings. You guys know her Indian name's Matumspi, means center pole. She's doing well because she's cleaning up just like I did. And this time I think I have high hopes because that's how I cleaned up my DUIs. Oh, she's not a criminal. She just got DUIs. She has an addiction. So say prayers for her and the other women in there, because in Montana, half the women in there are Native. And our men are overrepresented. You go in there anywhere, we're overrepresented. But we want to thank you for joining us for this Power Hour. We have it every Wednesday. It's Wellness Wednesday. We're in week 77. We've been coming to you, and it's free on YouTube. You can tell your relatives about it and talk to us. Call Jillian up in a week. She's taking a rest. She's taking a rest this week. And we love her. We love you, Jillian. And we love all of you out there. Yeah, we're this like that. Yeah. Is that pretty good? Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that, we'll say Kitakito Matsuno, and we'll see you later. Thank you very much.